Hi, and welcome to the Word of the Week. This week's words are fear and frustration. Now, I know I usually do just one word at a time. I have to apologize. Last week, I was out of the country and I had some scheduling problems and I was unable to get the video done in a timely manner. But it couldn't happen at a better time because fear and frustration are two words that I think really go together. They're hand in hand. We all feel fear and we all feel frustration. And most of the times, they're related to the same basic thing. It's a lack of understanding. Right? We fear the things that we don't understand. We get frustrated by the things that we don't understand. Right? When we can't get something, we get very frustrated. Right? When we can't control something, whether it be our body or a situation, we get frustrated by it or we fear that situation. No one likes to have that feeling. So when we look at the ideas of fear and frustration, using the Taiji concept, the yin-yang concept, they're not really good or bad, right? They're not these positive or negative sort of things that are fixed. It's all in how we deal with the situations. You see, fear can be very healthy. It is very healthy to have fear, right? If you didn't have, let's say, fear of tigers, then maybe you're going to go out in the jungle and you're going to get eaten. Right? Fear is this thing that's in us, this warning system to let us know that we are in danger and that it kicks off our fight or flight mechanism. So we either have to protect ourselves by standing up to it or we have to protect ourselves by getting away from it. But what happens a lot of times with fear is we get stuck by it. Right? If you're stuck, you can't fight, you can't run, so you get devoured. So fear, when we use it to motivate us to create change, is a wonderful thing. Frustration works in much the same way. I've been explaining to a lot of my students that my idea of frustration is when what we think and what we believe and what we feel or we want to feel inside is separate from what we're experiencing outside. When that division is so great, the greater it gets, the more fear, the more frustration we feel. Right? So the closer those things are, the happier we feel, the more satisfied, the more complete we feel. But as our ideas inside and our reality outside begin to diverge, that creates a feeling of frustration. A lot of the situations that we face, yes, we're going to move away from the target. But if we take that frustration, that desire to be correct, that desire to get things on track, if we use it to motivate us to move towards the right way, then we relieve our frustration. Now, a lot of times that requires, if we think about the extremes of the situation, sometimes that requires us to change our actions, right? If we want a specific result, we're not getting that result in our life, then we need to change our actions. We need to do the things that are necessary to get that thing that we want. Or we need to change our expectations. And a lot of times that's where the problem lies. See, people are doing the right thing or they're trying to do the right thing, but the level of expectation that I want it now, I should be able to do it now. Well, who says? Right? Is there a law that's written that says you got to get it the first time or the second time or even the 100th time? Right? So sometimes we have to change our expectations, make them a little more realistic, and continue on with our work, and then we'll see our paths begin to converge once again. Okay. The definition of frustration is actually a deep chronic sense or state of insecurity and dissatisfaction arising from unresolved problems or unfulfilled needs. See, a lot of times frustration and fear are a result of our ego. Now, again, ego is not a good or a bad thing. It's a bad thing when it's out of control. So we get frustrated when we think we should be able to do X, Y, or Z. Right? So it's this, if I can't do it, then there's a feeling of I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy enough. And we don't like to have that feeling. We don't like to feel that other people are superior to us because if they can do it, why can't I do it? And that's not particularly a healthy way to approach a situation. Fear also works with the ego sometimes because what we fear is that we're wrong. No one likes to be wrong. We want to know that we have all the answers. We want to believe that we are, great. And we are great. Each of us is great in our own ways. But that doesn't necessarily mean that others can't also be great, and others also can't be right. So we tend to fear what we don't understand. We tend to fear what is not in alignment with our thoughts and our beliefs. So what we do is we create these barriers through fear and frustration. So again, fear and frustration, not so much of a negative, unless you allow it to control you in a negative way. Right? If fear prevents you from doing what you want to do or what you feel you need to do, then you need to face your fear. You need to shine light on it. Some people say fear is false evidence appearing real. Right? Shine light on it, because once it's in the light, once you can see it for what it is, once you can understand the situation for what it truly is, then you no longer need to fear it. Or if you do need to fear it, then you know why you need to fear it. You know what you need to do next. Right? Frustration, the same way. Right? Understand what is the cause, what is the root of your frustration. Right? A lot of people get frustrated, but they don't know exactly why they are frustrated. Right? Really analyze it. Is it because I can't do it, or is it because I'm not willing to do it? Right? So there's lots of ways that we can look at it. So use your fear to motivate you to create the change, to put yourself in a situation where you're safe. Use the frustration to motivate you, to get you to a point where your inner desires and your outer reality are in sync. Okay? So think about this, and I hope that this sheds a little bit of light on how fear and frustration are necessary parts of our lives, but they don't need to be negative in terms of holding us back. They can be positive and move us forward. All right, hope you enjoyed this week's lesson. Hope to see you next week.